Here's your list of high-priced guys.
Robles is going to play. I mean, he's not going to play this year a lot anyway, but he is going to be their starting center fielder at some point.
Harper, Murph, Wieters, as you mentioned, Gio, Madsen, Kelly, Adams.
It's actually 7.
So, I wouldn't say Adams isn't a key player,
right? Those are like your
but like JP said,
guys.
Harper and Murphy are obviously key players.
Those are the key players.
First thing they got to do is they got to avoid all the injuries that they had last year. And every team has injuries, but
although they weren't really injured,
no, they weren't
in the postseason.
No, they weren't.
So really, the question about how do you get over the hump is, what is the missing element for this team, if any, season? Because they were able to survive the injuries. I get what you're saying. You always want to be healthy. They got into the playoffs.
Yeah, but my point is, when you're hurt, you miss 50, 60 games like a Trey Turner. It does affect you. Postseason, it wasn't very good.
Correct, but neither was Bryce Harper.
Correct. Well, he also got hurt.
Harper hit .211 in the postseason.
Right, so Harper was hurt in the regular season. Turner was hurt in the regular season. Strasburg's always hurt in the regular season.
Scherzer couldn't start game 1.
Murphy, Eaton. They had injuries, and who knows if Eaton's healthy all year and plays, they might be a different team. But they can't make the mistakes. They made some key mistakes in that series.
To me, it was kind of fluky. Actually, yesterday, somebody asked me, "Do you think the Nationals get over the hump this year?" Essentially,
who knows?
At the gym, and I was like, "I don't know."
If you knew that, you'd be a billionaire.
I was like, they're as good as they've been, and they make it to the playoffs every year. Who would have predicted that Max Scherzer would give up 4 runs in an inning? He came in relief and gave up 4 runs in 1 inning.
Okay, well, he's never done that before.
Understood,
that's not his role. It's a little different.
It was fluky. You always point out, Matt Wieters threw the ball in the outfield.
Right, that's not really fluky. That's a mistake. A pro can't do that.
Correct, but it's fluky in that it doesn't happen frequently.
Okay, all right. But I guess it comes down to, for me anyway, is you just have to execute and not make the key mistakes that they've made in the last 4 playoffs.
800,
and Harper certainly has to bat better than 211.
800-636-1067. I think the key to them offensively might be, it's kind of obvious, it's Trey Turner. If Trey Turner goes back to what he did 2 years ago, and he's healthy, as you said, and he wreaks havoc on the bases, steals 75 bases this year, they're going to be. A couple years ago, when they were in the playoffs, they relied so much on just the long ball, and I think they've changed the way that this team can win. They can win with the long ball. Guys like Bryce Harper, Daniel Murphy, Ryan Zimmerman, they're going to hit home runs. But they also have a good amount of speed now with Adam Eaton, and Michael Taylor, and, of course, Trey Turner.
And it sounds like Martinez, and he should. He should take advantage of that speed that he has on the roster.
Yeah.
So you might see that unleashed a bit here in 2018.
Let's see what Eaton does. They were counting on Eaton big time last year, and that was just a devastating injury for them and for him. So let's just see what kind of role he plays. You would expect at the top of the lineup that he is going to make a lot of things happen. And like you said, Trey Turner, when he gets on base, he can. If he walks, it's like a double.
And then we'll see if the manager makes a difference. And I bring this up, and again, we want to hear from you. 800-636-1067 with the national season open up today. What do you think gets them over the hump? Now, the Nationals obviously think changing managers make a difference. At least some people, even though we heard that Mike Rizzo wanted to bring Dusty back, they ultimately did make that decision. One of the things that I remember us talking about kind of throughout last season, but then in the playoffs was Dusty kept going to like Sammy Solis in relief. And they had made that trade, or a couple of trades, where they had Kinsler, Madsen, and Doolittle. And yet in the playoffs, he kind of went off script. And he used Solis in spots that you didn't expect him to use them. And, of course, he didn't come up big.
What, for matchups, right? He went lefty on lefty.
Instead of just going with, they kind of developed it where Kinsler was like the 7th inning guy, Madsen was the 8th inning guy, and, of course, Doolittle was the closer. And instead, for whatever reason, Dusty Baker went away from those guys.
Just didn't work out. Who knows if Dave Martinez is going to make mistakes.
Correct.
He is.
I saw that Boston's manager was already getting criticized after one game.
Yeah. So these guys are going to make mistakes. You just have to overcome it. Now, on paper, they're as good as anybody.
But do you think that could make a difference?
Who, Dave Martinez?
Yeah.
Could. Sure. I have no idea. Guys still have to perform.
Certainly.
If Dave Martinez puts in Sammy Solis in a spot where he usually doesn't put him, Sammy Solis still has to get a guy out. But and those other guys, like we mentioned, the Trey Turners of the world and Adam Eatons, those guys have to perform in the postseason. They're going to be fine in the regular season. I mean, unless they have a ton of injuries and, the Mets just play outrageous baseball.
I'd be a little bit worried that Gio's is just primed to take a step back. Is he really going to have a sub-3 ERA in 2018 like he did last year?
Probably not. And you do worry about him.
Big ask.
You do worry about him in the postseason.
Tanner may pitch better.
Yeah.
I felt like Tanner kind of underperformed last year based on what he'd been doing prior.
Yeah, well, let's see how they're pitching leading up to their divisional round.
That may balance out, Cakes. The Gio may come down a little bit.
Yeah.
Or ERA up.
Bottom line is they've got enough talent on paper. They're going to win a bunch of games. Hopefully 92 or more.
Hopefully that's the case.
But when they play the Cubs or they play, the D-backs or they play the Rock, whoever they're going to play in the divisional series, they just have to perform better than they have in the last 4. Because their bats have died. They made mistakes. Manager made mistakes, bad decisions, and it cost them.